Hey, la la la, da ma 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 ma, hey, ay, la la ya 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 ya, ma ya, da ya dam, la da dam, Shall I this abschlagen? I'll be very happy. Last time you did, I came back and I'm noch einmal Farbrengen. So if you've abschlagen, they'll have a reason to invite me back. Perhaps I should come back and fix it. I'm involved. L'chaim, guten Moed. So first of all, the good news is even though we have a late departure, I think we'll land on time in Eretz Hashem. We'll make it up in the air. Al Kaponim, like as it says on the brochure here, and as he mentioned, Tracht gut wird Zain gut. Is it a magic wand? So, spoiler alert, it's a magic, but it's not a wand. Let's say it's magic in the fact that with the Aveda of Tracht gut wird Zain gut, as the Rebbe says clearly in the Sicha, that you can overcome all of obstacles, even natural obstacles, even the laws of nature, the laws of physics, can be overcome with the proper attitude of Tracht gut wird Zain gut, which means if you are absolutely positive that Hashem will make your situation in your life a good one, or in the Rebbe's Lashon, v'teiv hanira v'hanigla, in a way that you actually feel that it is good, if that is your positivity, then in fact it will be good. Now, we all know that the basic understanding of this approach, unlike the way the world understands positivity bias, that is that no matter what's going on in your life, if you have a positive attitude, then in fact you will be able to live with a positive attitude and things will feel positive for you. In this case, what as the Rebbe explains, is that it's much, much more than that. Quantum difference, and that is that with the attitude, as we're going to explain, as the Rebbe explains in the Sikha, with that attitude, not only do things feel better, but in fact, the nature of the world, the nature of the situation around you actually changes. And even if it doesn't look like it's naturally possible, it will change to the point that it actually is something which is evidently good and positive for you, not just because of your attitude, but because it is a feel-good kind of situation, which is where you want to be. And what's the basis? What's the basis for that proclamation? Since the Rebbe says that bitochen in Hashem, as the Rabbi Mendy explains, that bitochen by Hashem is menuchas hanefesh. That's the litmus test. A person wants to know, do I have bitochen in Hashem? How can you check yourself? Do I really trust in God? And you can say, okay, of course I trust in God. I believe in God, and I know, and so on and so forth. We all believe that the Eibishter can do. Bitochen is not that the Eibishter can do. Bitochen, trust in God, is that the Eibishter will do. I know that He could make my situation better. There's no doubt about it. Even if it doesn't look like there's any possible natural means whereby the situation could be rectified, and I just need, chas v'shalom, a person may think, I need to learn to deal with whatever this is. Trust in God, bitochen b'Hashem, means to actually know that you have full peace of mind, And full peace of mind, as the Rebbe explains, is when you are absolutely certain that the situation will change, the situation itself will change for a positive, feel good, that it feels good for you situation. So if a person wants to know, do I have bitachon in Hashem or I do not have bitachon in Hashem, the question you really should be asking yourself is, do I have complete peace of mind? Do I have peace of mind totally, or am I still worried about something? If you're still worried about something, then there's something lacking in your bitachon. If you actually have trust in God, that the situation will in fact be turned into a positive situation, then you will have full peace of mind. Menuchas hanefesh, peace of mind, as Rabbi Mendy says. How do you get, what is that positive attitude, and what's it based on? So the fact that the Torah says that this is the way that it should be, so the Rebbe explains, as the Rabbi Mendy brings, that since it's part of our belief in Hashem, part of our belief in God is that, in addition to the system that Hashem set up a system that if you will follow all of my rules, then I will make life good for you and positive. I'll give you good terms of employment. That is to say that if your life is a life of fulfilling your mission here in this world, and if you fulfill your mission, Hashem says, I will give you positive, what's the word? Tenoy avodah, that your terms of employment will be positive conditions for your employment, so that you will be able to fulfill your mission 100%. Now, one of the rules is that Hashem not only follows these rules according to the way whoever deserves, whoever doesn't deserve, but that Hashem also meitiv, that he does good, even if a person does not necessarily deserve to have those positive conditions bestowed upon him. Now, that doesn't mean that a person is able to rely on the fact, he says, okay, look, I know that my behavior maybe is not 100%, but since I know that Hashem is kind, and that Hashem also gives positive conditions to somebody who doesn't necessarily deserve it all the way, therefore I can count on that Hashem will in fact make life positive for me. That, the Rebbe says, that cannot be our attitude, because then we're undoing the entire system. Nevertheless, but there is a time where Hashem does, in fact, not judge a person exactly. And even if a person is not deserving, Hashem will make things better for them. And I want to take this moment, actually I wanted to bench everybody out, that anybody that does need any extra positivity in your life, that Hashem should judge you positively, whether or not, whatever your personal situation is. And it absolutely does happen that Hashem does very often break his own rules, so to speak, to give positivity even more so when whether a person deserves it, even if a person does not deserve it. But it's not necessarily something that we can count on. So if I want to give you a bracha, that you should be able, that it should be fulfilled. Everybody, l'chaim, l'chaim. However, as the Rebbe explains, bitachon, trusting in God, is a sure, free way to ensure that you will be able to bring about that Hashem's kindness, where he changes the rules, that even if a person is not deserving, that Hashem will go out, will change it, and will make it positive for you, that there is a sure way to make that happen. And that is with the avodah of bitachon. Let me just go back a bit and so we understand the situation. In general, everybody knows that Hashem wants a good life for me. We were created in such a way, we were put here in this world, and in order to understand what that means, that everything has been set up for us to have a good life, we have to understand a little bit of hashgacha pratis, divine providence, divine intervention in every single detail. There's a story told about the Tzemach Tzedek, that Tzemach Tzedek used to, part of what he was involved a lot in dealing with government officials. He had to annul certain decrees. He had to get a lot of things changed in official things that were done on an official capacity by the government. So the Tzemach Tzedek had to deal with government officials in order to get things changed and work out better for the Yidden. And he noticed that very often he would come to certain officials, and he noticed that somebody had already been there before him and had laid the groundwork and prepared whoever this government official was, and that he was already expecting the Tzemach Tzedek, and that he was already come with a positive attitude, and that the Tzemach Tzedek was able to fulfill his mission in creating a positive situation for the Jewish people at the time there. Somebody was helping him behind the scenes, and he didn't know who it was. It turned out that there was a Jewish businessman who had dealings with a lot of these government officials, and behind the scenes, he was actually helping the Tzemach Tzedek on his own. At a certain point, the Tzemach Tzedek did find out it was, and he did meet him, and the Tzemach Tzedek asked him, he said, what can I do for you? How can I it's my words, like, how can I repay you for what you've done to help me in my work? So he said, I want you to explain to me what is hashgacha pratis. So the Tzemach Tzedek took him to the window, and he said, come, take a look what's going on outside there. What did they see? They see a guy driving a wagon full of hay. And behind the wagon, there's somebody following the wagon, and the guy behind the wagon, he broke off a piece of the hay, and he used it as a toothpick. So the Tzemach Tzedek says, you see what's going on over here? Yeah, I see this. The guy's a wagon with hay, and somebody broke off a piece, made a toothpick. Tzemach Tzedek says, I'll explain to you what's going on. This person is walking behind the wagon. He's one of the Lamed Vav Tzadikim, one of the 36 hidden Tzadikim in the world, righteous people. He's on his way to davening. He's on his way to prayer. And he's got something stuck in his tooth, between something in his teeth. And he needed a toothpick in order to be able to pray with peace of mind. So Hashem, God created a village where they grew hay. And he created this wagon driver with the wagon and put the hay on the wagon, sent him from the village into the town, and he's driving through in order that this tzaddik, this righteous person who needs a toothpick, should be able to have a toothpick so he should be able to pray properly, he should be able to daven properly. That's hashgacha pratis. What do we see here? Often we interpret divine intervention that, the tzaddik is walking in the street, he needs a toothpick, and the Eibishter who controls everything, holds the whole world, says, okay, I got a wagon with hay coming through, I'll detour him right through over there and be able to pick up the toothpick. No, Samuel said, that's not what hashgacha pratis is. Hashgacha pratis is that it's even before this tzaddik, whatever got stuck in his teeth, which certainly it only happened within the last about 12 hours or so, or less, because from his last davening, from his last prayer till now. So the village with the hay had been prepared for years and years, or as is explained very, very often throughout Hasidic literature, in that when the world was created, this entire situation, everything that's not to say that you don't have free choice. And in fact, we learned from Pesach that sometimes the plan changes, depend on the way people react, but that change has also been instituted into the plan, so that everything is already set up in Hashem's original plan. The Rebbe explains that Vayetzienu Hashem biyod chazaka. Why did Hashem have to take us out with a strong hand, as if He was going against the system? We know that when Hashem designed the whole setup that the Yidden would go down into Mitzrayim, they were there to fulfill a job, a mission. And the Rebbe asked Avram Avinu, they have to rectify the original sin of Adam, of the Chet Eitz Hadas, the original sin of the tree of knowledge. And in order to rectify that, they can do it one of two ways. And Hashem asked Avraham Avinu, what do you choose? And he said, if they'll go down to Mitzrayim. Okay, fine. If they go into Egypt and they go through the trials and tribulations of the bondage in Egypt, and by fulfilling their mission there, they will be able to rectify the situation. But something happened in the middle. Something happened. Vayareyu Isonu HaMitzrim. The Egyptians, they pushed the Jews into a situation where they were even worse than they were when they got there. In other words, they had to fix much more. By the time they were through with their bondage in Egypt, what they needed to fix was much more than what they had originally gone there for. And therefore, Hashem had to intervene and, so to speak, change His plan. Although, as we know, even that changing of the plan is also originally built into the situation. And therefore, that's why Hashem intervening in the changing of the plan, the exodus of Egypt is in fact an ongoing situation, because the original plan of fixing what had to be fixed, what had to be rectified, the tikkun of Chet Eitz Hadas, and in fact, has not been completed, and we are now still in the process, but because Hashem intervened, so we are absolutely certain that we will finish this process b'karev mamish, and so that the Exodus to Egypt will conclude with the final redemption with Mashiach b'karev. Al kol panim, that's on a macro level, and every single individual also has a plan. Hashem sets up your plan for your life, and it's set up that you should have the best, beautiful life possible. Everything that Hashem does is that everything should be for you, b'teiv, hanira, v'hanigla. What could possibly happen? Sometimes, just like what happened in my, that the mitzvim intervened. What does it mean that a person's bechira, a person's choice, could cause either punishment or reward? In fact, the story of the Egyptians is what the Rambam points to, that says that even though Hashem had a plan set up, but because by choice they did something which they were not necessarily were supposed to do according to the original plan, that choice also caused it's a change in the plan, but not a change that wasn't originally built into it. And so forth, and so too, in our own personal life, even though we are born into this world with a positive, everything good plan, sometimes because of our choices, certain things are going to be changed. And that's when some things don't go absolutely right in our life, based on the fact that we may have done something which caused the plan to be changed, because we, by our free choice, did something which we probably should not have done, and therefore something has to be changed in order to fix it, to get us back on track. What does that mean, to get us back on track? So this situation where it doesn't feel so good is actually part of the getting us back on track. For example, as it says that any punishment in Torah, not Shalom, bad. No ra, nothing bad comes from heaven. Everything is good. But the punishment itself is wedding, so that we should be back to the original of everything that goes well and good in our life. I just use my own own words. If a child comes playing, and he really don't, because they're playing and they're whatever. Okay, so now it's bedtime, 10 o'clock. So what does a good parent say? I keep my full of tar, but 10 o'clock, the best thing for you is to go into bed. A warm bed with blankets and pillows, nice comfortable mattress. Just go straight to bed with all your tar, because that's the best thing for you. That's what you need. A good parent says, look, if I send you to bed with the tar, what's going to happen is, first, you won't be able to sleep. You're just going to get full of tar all in your pajamas and in your bed and this. And from there, things are just going to get worse and worse. So in order to get you back on track, what does the father do? He throws him to the bathtub, takes out a scouring pad, and he cleans the child. Now the child is yelling, what are you doing to me? You hate me. Yeah, you're hurting me. Because he's not hurting. What the child doesn't realize yet at this age is that everything that the father is doing to him now, even though it hurts and even though it feels like Tati doesn't really like him, but in fact, Tati knows that in order to get you back on track to the beautiful life which I have planned for you, we need to go, because you did something which you should not have done, so I need to take out the scouring pad, and it's going to hurt a little bit, but then once we get you back clean, you go to bed, maybe a little bit late this time, but Mirz Hashem, if we follow this system, we'll be back on track, and from now on, life is going to be good for you. The Eibishter, however, and that explains why sometimes things do not go well for us in life. Every single time we feel as if there's pain in our life, which we know is some sort of punishment, so to speak, from Hashem, it's not chas v'sholem because tit for tat, you did something wrong and therefore you need to get hurt. But everything which goes wrong, anything which is less than 100% good and positive for us, as we would want for our children, anything that Hashem does less than that for us, is because of that situation, we may have got some sort of stain on our life. And therefore, if Hashem just continues the positive way, we'll go to bed with that stain, and it's just going to make things worse. So Hashem says, look, I need to clean it off. And sometimes cleaning it off is pain. And that's what pain in our life is all about, is a cleansing process to get us back on track.
You're allowed to kvetch during the pain.
You're allowed to kvetch during the pain. And not only are you allowed to kvetch during the pain, but the Eibishter, God has, I know there's in Israel they have what's called a sfog hapele, a scouring pad, but you don't have to scrub real hard. It's a magic sponge, they call it. The magic sponge gets off all the stains very easily. So why does Hashem have? If you were a father and you had a magic sponge that you could get the tar off the child real easily, when you put him in the bath to clean him, what would you do? You take out the magic sponge and you clean him off and send him to bed. No pain, and he's back on track. This is not really, just to understand, I mean, the reason why the father would maybe not take out the sponge, the magic sponge, time and again, is because if he takes it out once or twice or 3 times, then the child is just going to turn into a spoiled brat, and he's going to come home every single day with tar, and sooner or later, he's going to ruin his own life one way or the other by not having learned. And therefore, even the best of parents and the most loving of parents is going to, at a certain point, say, okay, no more magic sponge. It's going to have to hurt in order to teach the lesson. And again, but halavai, we should be able to, the Eibishter says, Ma'avir Rishon. It says, the first time I take out the magic sponge. Second time, okay, it was really the first time because we never really had it since again, and over and over again. And again, I want to say l'chaim that the Eibishter should never have to take out the scouring pad. Everybody should get a magic sponge, and every time that Hashem has to clean a stain from us, it should be with no pain and just good and positive in our lives. L'chaim, l'chaim. Al kapanim, we can kvetch and we can daven for that. But we can't be guaranteed that Hashem will, in fact, every single time do that, except there's a hack. There is a hack, and that hack is bitachon. If you have bitachon in Hashem, if you have trust in Hashem, that everything will be positive, that bitachon will actually ensure you that even if there is a stain that needs to be cleaned, you will be guaranteed that Hashem will take out what I'm calling the magic sponge and clean that stain in a feel-good, positive way where there is no pain and life will only be good and positive. That, the Rebbe says, and that's also based on, since Hashem, as it says, Rabbi Mendy says that since Hashem does, in fact, make things good for you, even, and it's one of the basic tenets of belief, even when a person is not deserving, how can you make sure that it's going to happen? We know that it could happen, and we know, Baruch Hashem, I'm sure every one of us knows in our lives that it does happen. But how can we ensure that it absolutely will happen every single time? At least from now on. With bitachon. What's the positive attitude that a person has to have? And in the Rebbe's words, it's an aveda v'yigia b'nefesh. It's a deep soul-searching type of an endeavor. It's a self. An avoida. It's an avoida, a work. I don't know what's the proper English term for an avoida. A real deep avoida. What is that? So, the very superficial, which I think incorrect understanding is that if you convince yourself over and over again, like a mantra, everything is going to be good, Hashem only wants good for me, and He's going to make it good, it's going to turn out good for me. That's really, if you ask yourself, do I have menuchas hanefesh if I'm going through that type of process? I think honestly, you really don't have menuchas hanefesh. So that really can't be bitachon. Bitachon, a menuchas hanefesh, is when you really are positive, in fact, that it's going to be good, and not that you have to convince yourself that it's going to be good. In order to understand, I think, and this is the crux of the situation, which I think there's magic here. That is that you could beat the system, so to speak, and that you could ensure that Hashem will, in fact, change the rules for you and make everything positive, even if you might not be deserving, and even if the situation that you've gotten yourself into seems to be physically impossible to get out of without any pain, somehow, someplace, even then, you can be 100% positive that Hashem will change it and make it done for you. We all know that He could do it, but that you should be absolutely peace of mind that He, in fact, will do it. So what is the attitude that you have to have that will ensure you that Hashem will, in fact, make that change for you? So Rabbi Mendy, after having said and why a person should 100% be trustful in Hashem, if in fact Hashem is going to make things 100% positive for me, and He's going to change the situation, and He's even going to change, if necessary, the laws of nature, so that things should go well for me. So for sure, there's nothing that I can do about that. I can't change the laws of nature. So I know that I have to do whatever I can do anyways. And for example, I need to take the medicine in order to get better. But the medicine is not really what heals me. Hashem heals me. So if Hashem is healing me, and I need to know that the medicine is not what heals me, Hashem heals me. So if Hashem is healing me, then why do I need to take the medicine? If Hashem is the one who gives me the parnasa, why do I have to go to work? Why do I have to stay up the whole night preparing this PowerPoint presentation for my parnasa, if in fact the parnasa actually comes from Hashem? And he explains, one of the ways of you proving that you really do trust Hashem is by going through these motions of whether it's taking the medicine or preparing the PowerPoint or the things that you need to do, or in the lashon of Chassidus, the kli in teva, the natural vessel that we create in order through which Hashem is going to do his miracle and make that positive change. What does that mean? What does that mean? That Hashem is actually testing you through your natural means that you have to endeavor in, and through that he's going to see whether you really do have bitachon in Hashem. So he explains also somewhere else, and the Rebbe alludes to this in the Sikha. When a person goes through their process, I'm giving my own example here, and I'm using the example of Parnasa, but I'm almost positive that all of what we say here about bitachon, even though the shara bitachon bechlal is almost always, he refers to the inyanim of parnasa, of livelihood. But if we all want boneh, chaye, and mizenu, not that we want a good livelihood, we want good health, we want nachas from our children. So he lays down the rules how to have positive bitachon, which will guarantee you good livelihood, good health, and good nachas from the children. But I think the reason why he uses mostly livelihood as an example is because it's the most structured, and the rules are more simple to understand. But the rules are universal, and they apply to everything in our life. So I'm just going to give my example. Let's say a person wants an advancement in their job. Okay, and they have a meeting tomorrow with the CEO of the company, and he says, okay, I have a presentation with the CEO, and with this presentation, I'm going to convince him that I should get some sort of advancement in my job, my parnasa, so that I will be making much more money, etc. So he stayed up maybe a whole night or several nights preparing this PowerPoint presentation in order to convince the CEO that he should give you this advancement in the job, that you should have more money. And now it's the morning of your presentation. Of course, you're a good frumayid, and so you go to shul and you daven, and davening, you're asking Hashem for help. What should you be thinking when you ask Hashem, Hashem, I need help. I have this PowerPoint presentation this afternoon with the CEO. I think, Hashem, please make it that the presentation should go well and that the CEO should be amazed with my presentation. Is that the proper attitude? According to the Rebbe B'chai, no, that's not the proper attitude. And he explains why. He doesn't say it in these words that I said until now, but now I'll use his words. His words are as follows. Everything that goes on in your life is part of a chain reaction. Everything that happened to you right here and now, what you see is this. And so or the example that he gives, is that the policeman beat you with a stick. So, of course, it wasn't the stick that beat you, but you think it was the policeman. No, it really wasn't the policeman. It was the chief, his officer, and then said, listen, you got to go down and do something to this guy. And it really wasn't him. It was somebody, it was all the way back. It could have gone as far back as, he delineates several parts of the chain where this whole process started from. So in fact, what you need to know is that all you see is really the end result. And you think, or you need to know, that what you're seeing is really not what causes the end result. It's a long chain, and in fact, you can never really follow back the chain to where it all started from. And therefore, that's when you're going backwards. Going forwards, it's the same thing. And this is where the proper attitude comes in. To have your priorities straight out. Do you really care whether or not the CEO is going to love that presentation? The truth is, it doesn't really matter. That's not what you want in life, that the CEO should want my presentation. I want the advancement in my job. Now, is that what you really want? You want the advancement? No, I don't want an advancement in the job. I want an extra salary. Is that what you really need? Do you need an extra zero in your bank account? No. I want to take home more money. That's what you really need, to take home money? No, I want to raise a nice Jewish family. So at this point, what you need to dive into the Eibishter, even though you're preparing your PowerPoint presentation, is Eibishter. I stayed up a whole night for the PowerPoint presentation, and we'll get back to that in a minute, why I did that. But I know that's not what I want, and it's not what you want. What I want is to raise a nice Jewish family. Eibishter, give me the means to raise a nice Jewish family. So now, if the Eibishter would answer you directly and clearly right now, and he says, okay, listen, I guarantee you, I will take care. It's part of the promise that I made for you. I made a promise to you. And I promised you bone, I promised you chaye, I promised you mezene, right? So now he says, I know you worked very hard on that PowerPoint, but if I promise you, okay, go and make that presentation, I'm gonna fulfill what you need, all those promises, but it's not gonna come through your PowerPoint, it's not gonna come through an advancement in job. You say, okay, will you be happy with that? The problem is, maybe we'd say yes, but if we're really honest, and this is the hard part, it's hard for us to say yes to the Eibishter on that, because we like to know that I am at least in some control of what's going on, and that I can make it better. And this is the real avodah and the yigia that a person needs to have in his attitude. The avodah and the yigia is that even though I worked so hard on this PowerPoint, and even though I know that my job is to try to get my mission right now is to get an advancement and to bring home more salary, I need to know, and that's where my priorities come in, I need to know that what I really, really want is to raise a nice Jewish family, and I also need to be 100% positive. And this is clear, this is a clear promise from Hashem, that He will give me everything I need to be able to raise a nice Jewish family. So in order that I should be able to raise that nice Jewish family without any pain, and that Hashem should make everything happen. And even if you have to change the order of the whole world in order that it should happen, He can definitely do it. But I want to make sure that He's actually going to do it so that it feels good for me. If I am 100% positive in my attitude, that I know that it doesn't matter, that Hashem will in fact give it to me. So when I dive into Hashem, I don't ask for success in my presentation. I don't ask for success in my advancement in job. I don't ask for success in my bank account. I ask for success. I should be able to raise a nice Jewish family. And that's why the Eibishter sends us to work. And that's what Rabbi Mendy Deren explains. That just like there's a chain reaction behind you, there's also a chain reaction in front of you. And you need to see the end of the chain reaction in front of you. And that's what you need to have, what needs to be in your mind. And it's an avodah, it's not an easy thing, because you have to take your ego out of this totally. Because even though you stayed up a whole night on that PowerPoint, you have to know that it's not my PowerPoint that brought home the extra money to the family. It was the Eibishter that did it. And having that attitude in mind is the real test. What does that mean, is the real test? And this is the question that comes up a lot. So in Parnasa, we know that you have to make a kli in Teva. You have to make some sort of natural vessel. That's part of our way. Not that you have to in order that Hashem can help you. Hashem can help you anyway. But He set up the system to make a natural thing. Now, even though we had that natural vessel, sometimes it's not working. And we stopped ourselves. Wait a second. Maybe I need to fix the kli. I need to fix this vessel so that Hashem will be able to work through it a little bit better. And that's our mistake. That's our mistake. Hashem doesn't need a better vessel. Hashem, you need to work on the vessel, but not in order to make things for Hashem. What does this attitude help you? Sometimes you work it. When things are not going 100% well, where do you look to make things go well? Do you say, oh well, maybe I'm doing something wrong at work, and the vessel that I've created is not good enough. But if you understand that that's not that the vessel is not the issue, I need to raise a nice Jewish family. So if Hashem is for whatever reason not giving you 100% the means that you need for that nice Jewish family, what your first thing is to say, wait a second, maybe I need to concentrate on my nice Jewish family that I'm trying to raise. And that's what I need to enhance and fix and make it 100% better, and then Hashem will fix the situation. Now, sometimes he wants you to work on the family, and sometimes he wants you to work on the vessel. And I'll give you another example. People say, look, I've taken this medicine. I'm going to this doctor. He's giving me this medicine. It's not working. So I have a psakli. I made already a natural vessel. Maybe I should be looking for an expert. And it costs more money, and they have to wait months to get an appointment, and this and that. It's a big hassle. Or I could just sit back, have bitachon in Hashem. If I trust Hashem, and Hashem doesn't need the expert. Hashem can help me with the regular family doctor also. So why do I need to go look for the expert? So when do you know that it's time to look for an expert? So again, if you are very focused on, I need to take care of the situation. I got this, whatever it is, whatever. Should only be small issues in health that we're dealing with. But whatever it is, even this small issue is not taking care of itself. The medicine, I need to go to a better doctor. Or you'd say, why do I need to be better? So I want to feel good. I need to be better. This guy has something stuck between his teeth. He can't daven properly. I need to be better so that I can serve Hashem better. I need to feel better in order that I can go back and raise my good Jewish family, which is really what I'm here for altogether, or to be mashpia, or in my surroundings, or whatever it is, that everybody has their micro mission in life, the macro mission in life. But then you was, okay, if that's my mission, now it will be clearer to you. And the point here is, sometimes you're supposed to look for that expert, and sometimes you're not supposed to look for the expert. There's no single answer. It's individual. It depends on where you are at in your own particular avodah. It could be in your particular avodah, but that priority that you know what your real final mission is. The more you know what your final mission is, then the much easier it will be for you to understand at which point am I supposed to be working on the kli in life, and at which point am I supposed to be working more on the final mission in life. In other words, the natural means we do have to go through those motions, and going through those motions is part of the process of proving our bitachon in Hashem. So it's up to you to understand when that process is helping in your bitachon Hashem, and when it's getting in the way of your bitachon for Hashem. And that's when you know when I'm supposed to be dealing with the process and when I'm supposed to be ignoring the process and just thinking about the final mission on my life. And that's 100% individual. Everybody has their own final mission in their own way, and everybody has their own level of bitachon as to how they're going to relate to their particular natural vessels, which they have to make, the kli, which they have to make in their own life. The Rebbe in the Sikha, the famous Sikha in Chedek Lamed Vav, and he says clearly, what is the hera for us? He says the hera for us is that any time you are faced with a situation where you're trying, you want to go ahead with Torah and mitzvahs, and there seems to be something in the way, something detrimental to your fulfilling Torah and mitzvahs. So you need to know, and this is the lesson of that famous bitachon sicha, Tracht good, Zain good, that with your positivity, total trust of Hashem, you can actually change the nature of the situation. As the Rebbe says, is that with that positivity, you can change the situation. That in fact, even if natural things, even if the natural order has to be changed, that you will be able to fulfill your Torah and mitzvahs. So we just get to conclude here. If you understand the mission ahead of you is not what you're seeing right in front of you, is to succeed, whether it's the right doctor, or whether it's the right PowerPoint, or whether it's even the right whatever it is, the therapist, or whatever to deal with your children's issues. That's not your mission. It's what's right in front of you need to do now. But you have a much greater mission at the end, and that's where your focus needs to be. The focus needs to be on my job here in the world is we need to turn this world into one big holy place for Hashem, and everybody has their own way of doing it, their mission, whether it's at home or within shul and in the street or at work, etc., etc. If that is your final, if that is where you're concentrated on, and you know that even though between me and there something's not working right, so your betochen is to be that you need to be 100% sure, positive that Hashem will make it painless and actually feel good for you to be able to get back on track, so that you will be able to fulfill your mission when you know that your mission is in fact Torah and mitzvahs. Chaim.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Deren. And tonight there'll be a Farbrengen with Rabbi Deren and Eretz Hashem in the house of the Hoffingers, starting at.
Oh yeah, I thought it said it changed again, huh? It wasn't supposed to be by you? They changed it again.
Starting 9 p.m., 6340 Douglas Street.
The birthday of Rabbi Leivik, the Rebbe's father. Tonight, Yud Ches Nisan.
And
that's what the father.
And the Rebbe's
bris. And the Rebbe Leivik's birthday. Yeah, a good